Handwoven Heritage Future Foundation. This is my minute contribution to textile design research in Sri Lanka. As the title is self-explanatory, as Professor Nimal De Silva says in the foreword to my book, tradition will always help to create new designs with identity. As Professor Laktas Fernando says in the foreword to my book, creations of today's design have their seeds of inspiration in history. But something I did not realize was when Professor Senaka Bandaranayake, who graciously agreed to write something from the back page cover of my book, wrote that this is the first time after Ananda Kumarasamy, that is more than 100 years ago, that someone has decided to research Dumbara fabrics. This is a great honor which was conferred on me by I don't know whom, because I did not realize that. Something I feel very strongly about tradition has been stated so explicitly by Goethe that I have presumed to use a quotation from him in my book. He says, "He who cannot draw on 3,000 years is living from hand to mouth." Surely we in Sri Lanka should draw from 3,000 years, because we do have 3,000 years to draw from. Here I have presented a small collection of images from my photograph collection, just to give you an idea of the enormous variety that is Dumra weaving. From the collection in the National Museum, Colombo, I selected one garment, the Diakachi, which has fairly elaborate patterning. Perhaps not as varied as I have shown you in the photographs, but this was rich enough. And this I analyzed thread by thread and recorded it on graph paper, because fabric structure is my speciality. And this was used by a weaver in Talagone to reproduce this garment almost exactly. And that those pictures will be included in this presentation later. The Diakachi descriptions which I had read about in her one and only deeply researched book on medieval Sinhalese art, written by Ananda Kumarasamy. And this is an image of the actual garment. It's already slightly damaged, as you can see. The method I used was to get a measured drawings and then make a scale drawing of the entire garment, and then within each section to actually record the number of design motifs. Now these are some students of the University of Moratuwa obligingly modeling this garment for me. This of course is a reproduced one. We would not have dared to handle the original in this manner, and they have done a very good job, I think. And to just help you along a little bit, we have got some icons showing the method by which you do this step by step. It is a very modest male costume. This is the scale drawing of the apron section, And as I have said, not only the divisions of designing, but even the number of motifs within each section have been recorded. And as you can see, across the fabric there are many designs. Now that maybe only a weaver would understand how clever that is. It's not something that's easy to do. I've started describing from the center outwards, and this is a design right in the center, that is design A. It then goes on B, C, D, and so on. This one, as the garment itself shows, is from the belt downwards into the back flap. And from the belt itself is very intriguing because it has been woven of the same warp with the same warp, and it is not cut and sewn. There is no joint at the point at which the belt meets the garment. The back flap also has been woven like that continuously. In these photographs, we have highlighted the belt section just to demonstrate that these weavers too, today's weavers, know how to do this. First, I did not ask them how, because I think that is their trade secret. And anyway, if I were to know it, being a teacher, I would have to tell my students when they ask me, and I don't think that's fair. So I really do not know how they do this. This is an image of the back flap. It has this intriguing check pattern. On the face of it, it looks like tie-dyed yarn, but it is not. The red thread has been tied to the off-white thread by thread wherever it was necessary, both in the warp and the weft. And sometimes it has come off the boundary, which gives it a lovely, very creative handmade feeling. In order to make my work immediately useful to the hand weaving industry, I extracted some motifs from the designs that I had analyzed and got them woven on a shaft loom. And there are 5 designs in this book. All the designs have the necessary fabric settings and the point paper diagrams and lifting plans and all the rest of it, so that anyone can reproduce them as they are and hopefully innovate from there. These fabrics are woven at the Department of Small Industries Design Center in Kadawatha and also at the National Handloom Training Center in Ratmalana. This is one example of what I meant, that I have given all the necessary instructions. The fabric settings are there, the color, warp and weft color sequences are there, the point paper diagram with threading and treadling, everything is given there for reproduction. Now, from the same source of my research inspiration, I derived some jacquard fabrics. Here again, I have given just 3 designs, given the point paper diagrams so that anyone can weave this on the jacquard loom. These jacquard fabrics are woven at the workshops of Lanka Salusala Limited in their hand weaving center in Galagedara. Well, this Lanugata design, you can see the point paper design. This is for a 200 jacquard, and that's the fabric that was woven from it. This is the approach to this beautiful idyllic village of Thalagune, where you walk through the fields and over a little stream, which doesn't even have an edanda. You have to literally walk through the stream into all these. When I first went, there were little houses with thatch roofs and looking very beautiful, nestling amongst the trees. Now they have progressed to tiled roofs and ceramic tiles and so on. The Dungra weaving technique is extremely ingenious but tedious and requires an enormous amount of patience. And that's probably why very elaborate designs are no longer made, because people have lost the art of being patient. So basically the process is you pick up the design in front of you, and then you insert eakers, take the lifting plan to the back, insert eakers at the back, pick by pick, so that you retain the entire design that you pick up in front of you. And this is the image showing this design retained by these eakers. The top image shows a smooth, flat piece of wood passed along the first eagle in front of the weaver at the back behind the reed. This is inserted along an eagle and then raised, so this forms a separation of the threads according to the plan that has been picked up. This space, which is called a shed, forms in front of the loom also, and then now the weaver can insert the weft as is shown in the second diagram. As you can also see, this loom has only 2 shafts, and what is not shown in the picture is that there are only 2 foot treadles. These 2 shafts and the 2 foot treadles are used to weave the ground fabric, which is usually plain or matte. So they use the foot treadles to weave one ground fabric weft, then one pattern weft using this elaborate system, then the next plain weave weft using the foot trailers and the heel shafts, and so the process goes on. This is a rare picture of a pit loom which is no longer used. The usage stopped about 20 years ago. I have actually seen the last of these looms being used by Raptia in Thalagune. Basically, the loom sits on the ground. There are no stand. It's not standing on 4 feet sort of thing. So there is no vibration when you weave. And also the weaver sits on the ground, as you can see, and the yarn is close to the ground. The woven fabric is below ground level. And the theory is that because of the humidity being close to ground level, there is less thread breakage. These are pictures of the garment that was reproduced by a traditional weaver in Thalagune, Sarath Gamini Vikramasinghe, from my technical drawings, using my technical drawings. and the yarn was dyed at the Textile Training and Services Center to recipes given by Bauer and Company. They went to the museum and carefully, with after a lot of experimentation, color matched the color matched, so, and gave us the recipes. Now this garment was completely exactly the same, except for that checked area, which this weaver has made it very perfect. Instead of those tied yarn, which was not perfect in the original garment, which gave it more character, I thought. Dumbara woven fabric can be seen at our national museums in Colombo and in Kandy. And also at the Victoria and Albert Museum, they have a small but very comprehensive collection, which I had the privilege to see a few years back. Now, this is a controversial statement of whether at the moment there is design intervention by today's young professional designers and design students. Their minds are conditioned largely by in Western concepts of design education, sometimes totally geared to the Western way of thinking. Now, what will happen to our traditional, beautiful, sensitive creativity is left to be seen, because the richness of these fabrics are a mirror of the fact that we love decoration. I mean, from the Middle East downwards, we just love decoration. And now with these minimalistic concepts coming from the West, what that will do to this rich tradition is left to be seen.